Hello and welcome. Today I am going to play Ardennes 1940. I am not going to make it move by move, combat by combat like I usually do, but instead I would rather go something after action report. I will play a turn, then I will record a video telling and showing what happened during this turn. Belgium played an important role in the plans of both Allies and Germans for the upcoming decisive, as both sides believed, part of the war. The problem was that Allies made a grave mistake, being certain that Germans will attack through the Holland and then through the northern Belgium. They never cared much about Ardennes area, which is here or all over around, being certain that this terrain, which is full of hills, mountains and woods, will be able to stop Germans all by itself, maybe with some support of the Belgian forces. They never planned to send more units there. Of course, there was one more thing. Belgium never wanted Allied units to enter its borders before the war. It complicated Allied situation a lot, because French and British units weren't able to take their positions and prepare their positions before German invasion. They had to enter the Belgium after Germans are going to do so first. And because of that, Allied forces weren't able to meet the Germans in the way they planned to do so, on the well-prepared defensive positions where they were able to fortify themselves and to stop Germans. But as for Belgium and the Ardennes area, Belgians were certain that their unit of the Chasseurs d'Ardennes, Ardennes rifles, will be able to stop Germans down, and no one expected that Germans will use a big number of the armored units in the Ardennes. Both Belgians and both French and British High Command expected some infantry combat here with nothing really spectacular. This was about to be one of the biggest mistakes of the Allied command at this part of the war, because German armored divisions managed to move swiftly through the Ardennes and to reach Musy in no time. Ardennes 1940 is a game about this operation. It doesn't cover the entire 94 campaign, but only the Ardennes part. It comes with various scenarios. Here we have a historical scenario with Belgian units already in Belgium. You can see that here on the north we have two major towns, Liège and Namur, each of them heavily defended and fortified, but on this biggest part of the board we have only several units, mostly light, some motorized, but there are no any heavy units around. Some French units are here in France, and some more might enter the game later. But there is a big number of German divisions here, and even more are about to come soon. There are various scenarios for this game. Some of them include more French units that were around and could be used in Ardennes, but they weren't sent there. French headquarters decided that sending some light cavalry units will be enough to stop German armored divisions. Well, you may guess, it doesn't work great. So that's the situation. We have 11 turns for Germans to reach Musy, maybe even faster, because Germans have a huge advantage, especially in tanks. And we will see if we'll be able to do this as good as Germans did in 1940. But before we will start our game, let's talk a bit about victory conditions. Germans gain a couple of victory points for each of their units that leaves the board through the western edge of the board. There are 4 victory points for each motorized or mechanized unit, 1 victory point for each infantry unit, and 2 victory points for each headquarter. There are also additional 12 victory points for destroying all Belgian units on the game. And instant victory if at any moment there are no Allied units in Belgium and Luxembourg. As for Allies, they gain instant victory if at the end of the game there is not a single German unit on the other side of the Meuse. Also, Allied players gain 1 victory point for each city or town hex controlled in Belgium at the end of the game. So you can see that the victory conditions are different for both sides. Germans are about to move as fast as possible and to leave the board as quick as they can, while Allies have to keep as many towns and cities in Belgium. So this means that they still control Ardennes area, and to not let their own units being destroyed. So here is the situation at the end of the 10th of May. Germans are moving to the southern part of the board, meeting no resistance at all. Some more of their divisions just arrived on the board. So you can see that this mass of German divisions, including 1, 2, 3, 4 armored divisions so far in this area, with a little number of Belgians trying to stop them. This might turn into a real bloodshed in the next turns. Northern part of the board saw a bit more action, because Germans attacked through the Elsenborn and drove some of the Belgian battalions and regiments that kept their line there backwards. One of them was disorganized, and some more divisions came on the battlefield as well. Sandwit was cleared of Belgians, and that's all for Germans. As for Allies, Belgians moved 2 of their infantry divisions from Liège south, but these are infantry divisions, so they won't be moving that as fast as German armored divisions. So to make some kind of the defensive line here in this area, we will see if they will be able to do so. French units made their move as well. They are trying to take their positions on the line of this river, but like I said before, these are fast units, but they aren't very strong. So the question is if it will be enough to stop Germans. German airborne units landed here and there. One of them was attacked by the French 1st Cavalry Brigade and forced to move back. But most of these airborne units weren't even attacked by Belgians, since they are holding their fortified positions and they weren't quite eager to leave them. So that's all after turn 1 of the battle. Alright, I just finished second part of the game. Germans captured Matelange and they are riding to the Neufchâteau. Their infantry tried to take Bastogne from the marsh, but surprisingly the Belgians made a stiff defense and drove Germans away. Thanks to the airborne unit keeping barrier, the German 2nd Division managed to sneak through this town and is currently well about in the halfway from its target. Still, not much of the defense here. Belgians are making a harder defense in the northern part of the Ardennes, so everywhere Germans have to fight for their way, but Belgian units aren't strong enough to stop Germans. Sometimes they are able to slow Germans down a bit, but they aren't too strong to stop Germans' attack. Second Belgian division is moving south, like third Belgian division is moving east to halt, to stop all this mass of the Germans trying to move this way. Germans captured Malmedy and drove Belgians out of Eupen. So I think so far Germans are doing very well. Their air force is a very important support because it provides a lot of strength points during the combat. As for allies, two more French light cavalry divisions came. One of them drove a German airborne unit from this area, and the other took positions near Neufchâteau. But still they are not very strong. French units are still trying to form a line on the major river, hoping that they will be able to fortify themselves and to stop Germans on this line. We will see if they will be able to do so. While Belgians are still retreating, sometimes trying to fortify their positions to slow down German advance. But so far, Germans are doing well. Some of the Belgian units were disorganized and they are retreating into Liège. Okay, this is turn 3, 12th of May. So what happened? The Germans reached Neufchâteau on the south. They managed to beat and disorganize French 2nd Light Cavalry Division, which was forced to retreat, and so Germans are at the outskirts of Neufchâteau now. Also, Germans managed to capture Bastogne. One of their division was disorganized during this battle, but even so, Belgian defenders were forced to retreat. They had to move quickly to avoid being completely surrounded. Going further on the north, Germans are progressing quite nicely. They captured Wilsam and are slowly reaching this road. There is only one Belgian division here and one there to stop them. But you can see there is a hole in their line, and that's where German armored divisions are probably going to move, while infantry divisions will take care of these last remaining Belgian units. A problem with Belgians is that they have a very low disorganization result, so it is quite easy to disorganize their units. Belgians are still trying to form some line of defense here near Liège, but some of their units were eliminated in process, and the last remaining are defending their fortifications near Tankemont and Batica. Of course, Liège itself is a fortress with some fortifications over here and there, so it might be a problem for Germans to capture Liège right from the marsh, but their forces are pretty strong, so I think they might try to do so. As for allies, well, in the middle they are not doing well, since second German division, which is the spearhead of the German army, just crossed Rochefort and is coming close to Buarin. French 5th Motorized Division tried to reach this Buarin, but it is too far, so it wasn't able to seize this town. We get some more French units on the board, and this is nice because we finally have some good units that we can fight with Germans. Well, they are coming a bit too late, but like I said before, that was a problem of the political matter, since French politics and Belgian politics couldn't get together well, and they weren't able to make French army enter Belgium before the war. So one of the French brigades moved quickly to Neufchâteau to support its defense, because this town is going to be pretty important for allies. there are two new French divisions, both elite, that are seizing Bouillon and now this important junction, while some of the French units from the 9th Army are coming in the Philippeville area, this including 1st Armored Division and 22 Infantry Division and 5th Motorized Division along with 4th Infantry Division. So there is a lot of units, while the ones that are already on the line of Meuse are fortifying their positions to stand against upcoming mass of the German tanks. We will see if it will be enough. I am not certain about it, but we're still going to get some French infantry divisions in the next turns. We will see if it will be enough to stop Germans. And that's all for the turn 3. Okay, that was pretty dramatic turn. It is turn 4, 13th of May. First, French forces were made to retreat to Neufchâteau, which was captured by German divisions. Also, near the Baston, the last remaining units of its garrison are under destruction. Only a few of them remained here, and Germans are marching onwards. The German 2nd Armored Division managed to move to Meuse near Dinaud, but as soon as it crossed the river, it was instantly counterattacked by the French elite units of the, including French 1st Armored Division and 5th Motorized Division. The battle was pretty bloody, and each side suffered some losses, but Germans were able to hold the bridgehead. And there are 2 more armored divisions on its way, so it can be harder, especially if they will attack in any other ways. Next, on the northern part of the front, Germans are still making some progress, destroying some of the remaining Belgian units, but these 2 infantry divisions, 2nd and 3rd, might be a bit harder to destroy than the lone garrisons of the forts. Some of the German divisions are already involved in the combat for the forts around Liège. Belgians suffered some losses, but they are still holding their positions. So I think that the next 2-3 turns might be decisive, because the situation is getting dense, and we get some French reinforcements this turn as well. So General Hutzinger's 2nd Army is slowly making their positions near Bouillon, and it is rather too weak because it contains only infantry divisions to take back Neufchâteau. But if it will be able to form a solid defense in this area, then the Germans might have a problem to reach Charlesville and to go right into France. So we will see how it will go. The most complicated situation is definitely in the Dinant area, because Germans are on the west bank of Meuse. There is a lot of French units here, but more German divisions are coming. So I guess that we will see how it will go soon. That's all for the turn 4. So here we are with a turn 5. German bridgehead at Dinant still defends itself, and in the meantime Germans get one more bridgehead near the town of Givet, where their 8th Armored Division made its way through the Meuse. One of the French infantry divisions tried to counterattack but was repulsed and suffered disorganization. While here Germans captured Recon, and they are moving near Bouillon. A problem appeared near Neufchâteau, where suddenly one of the French colonial divisions came from the south and tried to recapture Neufchâteau. Its attack was defended by the German infantry regiment, but even so, this is a danger for these attacking divisions, and Germans will have to take care about it. Last remaining units of the Bastogne garrison were destroyed, so German infantry divisions have an open way on Rochefort and Marchin. Well, but the situation of the north goes differently. Belgian infantry divisions here proved to be tough opponents. Germans suffered some losses, sometimes even they had to retreat. And even if Tanquemont fort was captured, then Spa still defends itself. Germans' attack on the Liège fronts are not providing any successes. Germans are suffering losses. Defenders are suffering losses too, but their goal is to hold their forts, and that's what they are doing. And a problem for Allies might happen here, since German 4th Armored Division came from the north, moving around the Liège, and now it is on the best way to Amay, Huy, Halvange and Ardennes, and if it will move faster, then all these units fighting here might have a problem. So French units are still trying to hold the line on Mézé. They are suffering losses in the desperate combat against German armored divisions. And you can already see that the problem of French units here is not enough tanks. They have only one armored division, and it is already engaged near Dinant, so I don't have more tanks to take care of this German 8th armored division that just made its way near Givet. There are only infantry divisions that can be used in defense, but well, they are not very good when it comes to attacking armored divisions. So Germans are on their best way to make some progress and leave the board through the west. We will see if they will be able to do so in the next turn. So this is 15th of May. Germans made yet another bridgehead on Mézé near Hastier, and their progress forced French units to step back. I think this is quite an important moment, because starting with this turn, French divisions were forced to move back from the line of Mézé, and Germans still have to fight them. But now they will have to fight these French divisions on the open area, where they can fully use their full strength. So the things are getting harder for French soldiers, and even if they still can defend, they won't be able to drive these Germans back. All they can hope is that German divisions will suffer enough losses so they won't be able to break through them. But I think this can be hard. Interesting fact is that Guderian's corps is kinda stuck between Bouillon and Recon area. The German 1st and 2nd and 10th divisions still can't make their way through the French defending units, and French divisions put a stiff defense here, and I can say the same about Belgian infantry divisions. 2nd and 3rd divisions are still making German units in this area stay. The Germans cannot move forward because of the Belgian defense, and same goes near Liège. Belgians are suffering losses, Germans are attacking, but they cannot move forward. Belgian artillery and infantry proved to be tough opponents. German 4 armored divisions captured Huy, and it is coming close to their comrades near Dinant. If it will reach this area, then Germans might have, French soldiers might have even more problems, especially since there are more German infantry coming. And if this German infantry will reach this position, then everything will be done, I believe. As for French and Belgian units, well, they cannot do much. They're suffering more losses. Occasionally they put some stiff resistance, but I don't think they have enough strength to perform any real counterattacks that might change the situation. All they can dream of is that Germans will suffer more losses during their attacks, and it will blunt the spearhead of the German attack. So, this is turn 7. German bridgehead near Dinant, Hastier and Givet is expanding. German divisions are pushing French forces back. French units are still trying to defend, and each side suffer losses, but French losses are bigger, and it seems that as more German divisions coming, then French forces wouldn't be able to hold them back for a while. German units on the south decided that fighting here near Bouillon and attacking on the Charleville will be pointless because of the stiff French defense in this area, and they decided to move north on Burin and then to Givet and Hastier. We will see if French forces will be able to stop them. Of course, one French light cavalry division was sent here, but I don't think that such a unit might be enough to stop a big mass of German soldiers. Especially if most of the Belgian forces in Ardennes were already destroyed, save to the ones around Liège that are still fighting well, and these two French Belgian divisions. I have to say that I'm quite proud of these two. They are suffering some losses, but Germans that are attacking them are suffering even heavier losses. So I think they did their job quite well, bounding a number of enemy units and forcing them to fight with them. Same goes to defenders of Liège. They are suffering losses, but these three German divisions cannot move forward. As for allies, well, we definitely lack of new divisions, especially tanks. If there would be more tanks here, then I would probably be able to run some counterattacks. There are alternative history scenarios for this game that allows allied player to use more of his heavy units, so then we would be able to make some heavy armored battle between Philippeville and Hastier, and then probably stop German advance. But with our current forces, with only two tank brigades already weakened, then such attempt might be fruitless. Okay, that's all for the 16th of May. I am moving to the 17th of May. So, this is 17th of May, and the battle between Philippeville and Hastier goes extremely bloody. Both sides are attacking and counter-attacking everywhere they can. Both sides are suffering heavy losses, especially French units that sometimes they are surrounded, but even so, none of them thinks of clearly defending only. This battle comes extremely fierce, but German advantage grows with each turn. Finally, we have first German infantry division, which is 3rd infantry division, that crossed the Meuse near Hastier, and this is a sign that the Germans are about to prevail here. The question is if French soldiers will be able to keep Germans from moving through the western edge of the board. French 22 Infantry Division still keeps Philippeville, which is probably the last junction on the way. So I think that game turns into the German favor, but well, French soldiers are fighting really well, and many of the German units already suffered losses here. On the south, Germans are trying to avoid this big group of General Hutzinger soldiers. They are rather trying to go north and to reach this part of the Meuse where Germans are holding some bridges. But these French forces might move north anytime, so this might be a problem. When it comes to the north, the situation is still the same. Belgians are defending very bravely, yet suffering some losses. Liège still holds on despite heavy losses on both sides, so stalemate, I would say. So that's all when it comes to the 17th of May. Okay, 18th of May is done, and it was definitely a black day for the French army. Their losses in the battle between Philippeville and Hastiere were very big in this turn, and only a few units remain here. German advantage came into play, and it is clearly visible that Germans are able to destroy the remaining French units, but they are not still. They still have not a single unit that left the board, and they have only two turns to do so. So, I think they have to hurry, otherwise they might end with a draw, because they cannot. They have to leave the board to win the game, so they have to hurry a bit. Even with destroying a big number of French units, they won't win if they won't leave the board. French forces moved a bit on the south, coming to help to the 53 Infantry Division that defended alone, and they came in the last time, otherwise this division would be destroyed, but the French 3rd Colonial Division was able to push German 23 Division back. Still a little victory, since more German units are moving to the Meuse. You can see that there is a lot of them here. A little change on the north. Belgian 2nd Infantry Division was finally forced to retreat, while 3rd Division still holds in place. 2nd Division had to retreat, and Germans paid a lot of losses to make it. Near the Liège, one of the forts was finally captured by Germans, while the other are still in the Belgian hands. So it is highly impossible for Germans to capture the entire Liège till the end of the game. I believe so. This is 19th of May. What happened? Germans are still attacking desperately at the Philippeville. Some more French units were destroyed, but still not a single German unit left the board. Well, some are very close to the edge of the board, and French army has no enough units to stop them. But this is going to be the last turn, the next turn, where German units will be able to leave the board. So I think French soldiers, despite the heavy losses they suffered, were able to do something good, because it is 19th of May and still Germans are close to the Meuse. So Allied forces in northern Belgium would be able to move to step back without being completely surrounded and cut off. That's my idea. On the north, Germans are still smashing their head over fortifications of Liège. Some of them were now captured, but some are still holding, and Belgians are still about to defend in Liège. So this fortress proved to be a tough nut to break. Same goes to the very courageous 3rd Division that defends against overwhelming German advantage and holds its positions. So the battle is about to end in the next turn. Okay, here is the end of the game. Germans are still attacking Liège, but Belgians are defending well. Of course, all of the outer positions are already captured by Germans, but inner positions are still defending, so Germans weren't able to capture the Liège. What might be the most interesting for us is the situation on the west. Several German armored divisions managed to leave the board, gaining some victory points for Germans, and only a few of the French units remained there, so the way is open wide for the Germans to leave the board. Even so, none of the German headquarters or infantry division left the board, only a couple of armored and motorized units. Well, all I can do now is to calculate victory points and see who is going to win. I have a feeling that these are going to be Germans, but well, need to check it out. Okay, I counted all the victory points, so Germans are definitely the winning side with 49 victory points, while Allies had 15 victory points. The question is if Allies could do better. Well, I think there was a chance to use these forces here on the south more actively. I could try to push harder on the north, making more German units to be engaged by these French infantry divisions here, and maybe they wouldn't be able to reach this area and allow Germans to gain victory against the French forces that were defending all this part of the board. I think that was the biggest mistake for the Allies. As for Germans, well, they were doing fine. The only problem they met was here. I mean, fighting for all this area engaged a lot of units, but it was necessary because there were still some towns to capture, so I had to fight and to take care of all the units around, because if I would leave some of the units here in Ardennes, then these Belgian units would be able to recapture some of the towns and gain victory points. So I had to get rid of them, even if it means that some of my units will be engaged in this combat. Well, I failed to capture Liège, but well, I wasn't sure if I will be able to do so, since Liège is pretty well defended, and it was rather impossible to just take it from the march. I guess that's all. It was pretty dynamic battle with some dramatic moments, so I think this was a pretty cool game to play. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.